There are some very popular religious, spiritual, and sociological concepts that speak about the role that men should play in your life. A lot of them talk about men being the head of the household and being the leader in the relationship. But when you've experienced harm at the hands of men, then the idea of being led by a man feels incredibly triggering, doesn't it? As a consequence of your life experience, you've learned to perceive men as untrustworthy, dangerous, and unsafe. And that means you struggle with the idea of depending on men. You struggle with the idea of trusting men to show up for you. And you struggle with the idea of expecting positive outcomes in your relationships with men. I have absolutely struggled with this too. But as I understand divine masculine and divine feminine energy more and more, I understand that most teachers, coaches, thought leaders, whatever, aren't explaining healthy masculine leadership and containment in a way that makes wounded, healing women like myself feel safe and open to receiving that support. So that's what we're discussing in today's episode. You want to understand how to attract a good man into your life after abuse. In order to do that, you need to understand these fundamental principles about divine masculine energy. Here's a breakdown of the episode. I spend the first 30 minutes setting the scene for today's conversation, talking about some things that I've observed that I don't particularly like. Then we talk about the consequences of the abuse that you've experienced or abuse in general. We're talking about these consequences so that you understand what's going on within you as a woman who has learned that she can't trust men. In the episode, I'm making it really clear how living a life where you don't need a man is possible, but it's not the best feeling life experience available to you. Afterwards, we get into my favorite part of the episode, where we discuss what it actually means to be led by a man in a healthy, balanced way. By the end of this episode, you will not cringe at the idea of a man being the leader in your relationship or the head of your household. I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise, I promise. I'm giving lots of examples of my own experiences and of just how I have been and how I have shown up. If you have been following me for years, then you probably have heard me say on multiple occasions in response to this idea of being led by a man, I would say something along the lines of like, lead me where? Where are we going? It was something that I had a lot of resistance to. So if I am coming to you, telling you that I'm going to break this down in a way where it doesn't only just sound good, but it sounds like one of the greatest things in the world, it's significant, okay? That's my point. My point is it's significant. By the end of this episode, I believe that you will feel more relief around this idea of being led by a man. And the more open you become to being led by a man, the more willing you become to see men in a different way, the more you clear that space of the past, allow yourself to soften, allow yourself to build out the expectation of a supportive man coming into your life. Well, now you're clearing space. Now you're allowing your soulmate to show up and to support you in the way that he was meant to support you. And of course, in today's episode, we are talking about overcoming abuse. So there's a bit of a trigger warning for that. But in my opinion, we don't go into detail about anything particularly offensive or extreme. I really, really love this episode. I really, 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 really love like the last portion of the episode. Everything is building up to the last portion. The entire episode is amazing. But that last portion, the examples are so, so good. And I just love it all. And I think you're going to love it too. Okay, I'm done talking now, and I will, nope. This is the intro. It's not the end of the episode. Okay, enjoy. Right now, you're listening to Naked and Noisy, Manifestation Tools for the Professional Woman. I'm Natalie Hughes, your host and your coach in this series. In each episode, I'm giving you the tools that you need to create the life you've always dreamed of without the soul-crushing sacrifice that you were taught to endure. Whether you're ready to be treated like the industry leader that you are, you're ready to be drunk in love with your soulmate, or you're ready to wake up to a closet full of Jimmy Choo every morning, this is the podcast for you. I saw a video on the internet and I hated it. I didn't click on it. I hated it. I hated the thumbnail. I hated the title. I hated the guy who uploaded it. I saw a video on the internet and I hated it. And the video is of this man. The video is from this man whose whole platform is like teaching men how to be masculine. And I've seen another video from another creator, a woman, who also talks about masculine energy. She's talking, I don't know if she says divine masculine, but she's spiritual leader. So she's talking about masculine energy and feminine energy. And she basically was saying men are supposed to be supporting women, and who is supposed to be supporting men is other men. I don't like how that came out of my mouth. Men are supposed to be supporting women, and other men are supposed to be supporting the men that are supporting the women. It's hard for it to come out of my mouth because I think it's fucking stupid. And I was finding it difficult to start today's episode, but I feel like we're really off to a great start. The point that I'm making is that if you want to understand how to lead women, if you want to understand how to support women, if you want to understand how to be in a divine masculine, aligned masculine energy, then you need to be listening to women. You need to be taking your leadership advice from women. And I have a great example. And it's not really about women and men at all. It's about parenting. If you're a parent and you have kids and you're learning from all of the parenting experts in the world, all of the different people, all of the different thoughts, all of the different parenting modalities, is that what we would call them? And your kid is suffering. Your kid is not thriving under the way that you're parenting your kid. Are you going to go to another professional? Are you going to read another book, go to another seminar, go to another workshop? It's not that doing those things would be bad, but at some point, you should actually just sit and have a conversation with your kid about how they feel and what they need, and what you're doing right and what you're doing wrong. And maybe, that might look a little bit different. Well, of course that would look different if your baby was like 5 days old versus if your kid's like 15 years old. Their ability to communicate and all that stuff would obviously be drastically different. But the point is, you've got to be attuned. And what does attuned mean? Attuned is when I am putting myself in somebody else's shoes. Attunement is when I am tuned in, tapped in, turned on to another person. Attunement is when I am doing my best to put myself in somebody else's perspective. I want to know what's alive within them. I want to develop intimacy with them. I want to understand how their mind works. I want to understand what they need. I want to understand how I can best serve them. You cannot be an amazing parent. You cannot be an amazing teacher. You cannot be an amazing educator. You cannot be an amazing caregiver in general if you do not have the skill of attunement. And that's not something that you get from asking somebody else what you should do when it comes to your kid. So that's a really great example. And divine masculine energy, a man supporting a woman, a man taking care of a woman, a man leading a woman, and we're going to talk about that wording in just a little bit. You're not going to do that well by going around and asking men what you should do. You're not going to be able to take care of a woman well by seeking out men and asking them what you should do. And this guy specifically, I'm not saying that there's absolutely no value in it. I'm not saying there's no value in the things that he says or does or whatever. God, but he really fucking sucks, you guys. Like, there are some things that are valuable, and then there are other things that are, it's just superficial, misinformed bullshit. Like, I was watching one video of his because I'm doing research. I'm tapping into my divine feminine energy, and I'm doing all of these things. So I've got to learn. So I'm doing research, and I'm watching one of his videos, and he's like, to be a masculine man. He's like, to be a masculine man, these are the things you should do. He does not talk like that. And he's basically like, you know, listing off all of these things that you should do to be a masculine man. And none of them are, what can I say? They're not like applicable to the masses. And what do I mean by that? Okay, I have to give you another example from another video. This video that he watched, please, mouth, please. This other video that I watched was a video that he made for women, which I suggest he never does again. It was very bad. It was very bad. Anyway, in the video for women, he's making this video and he's like, how to drive a man crazy or some shit like that, okay? How to excite a man, drive a man wild, I don't fucking know, just whatever, okay? That's the video. And in the video, he says, you should wear perfume. Yeah, that's the outrageous part. Can't believe that he said that. No, he says you should wear perfume, which there's nothing wrong with that. But then he's like, you should get a perfume, and different perfumes are gonna go differently with different body chemistry. And you should, you know, get this perfume, and then you should go to a man in your family or a man that you know, and you should ask him if you smell good so that you know. And I just thought that it was such a silly thing, and it's nothing that I would ever tell another woman ever, because who the fuck cares? Let me explain. Who gives a shit what a man in my family likes, thinks, smells good. I just don't have that in my mind. That just doesn't work for me on an energetic level, on any level whatsoever. I'm a perfume girly. I'm a fragrance fiend, okay? I know my way around the bottle. You know what I'm saying? Like, I love fragrance. I love beauty. I love these Venusian themes and topics. If I was ever going to communicate to a woman how to be seductive and different things like that, I might suggest perfumes that I like and blah, 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 blah. But also, that doesn't fucking matter. You should get the fragrance that when you smell it, your eyes roll to the back of your head. You should get the fragrance that when you smell it and when you put it on, you feel like the sexiest thing on the planet. You feel like the sexiest woman to ever exist in the world. That's a magnetic energy, energetically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Your vibration is going to be so much more uplifted when you're putting on fragrances that you like instead of making choices and decisions based off of what somebody else likes. It was just a whole bunch of stupid shit like that. And it's not like, oh, what he said was really truly the most offensive thing in the world. It was just like, thumbs down, 0 stars. It just, this is not your zone of genius. Like, maybe just don't. Maybe just don't. Maybe just stop talking to women altogether because this isn't good. And if the guy who you're going to teach you about what it means to be a masculine man can't actually have, if he doesn't actually have such a good relationship with women, it's not that his videos have no value. It's that I strongly dislike them. And I strongly dislike his whole vibe and energy, and so much of that shit is wrong. There's a lot of people, even just videos that I see scrolling online, where they're talking about this is what it means to be a masculine man. And it's like, you don't have good relationships with women. You don't have good relationships with women. You're hyper masculine. In the video, okay, not the last video about fragrances that I told you about, but the video before that one, about how to be a masculine man, he said something like, a lot of women, not all women. He said, a lot of women, not all women, like to be choked. And we talked about this. We talked about this in like 2 episodes ago. There's something wrong with what he said. But he's like, you shouldn't just walk up to a woman and choke her. You should have a conversation about it beforehand and da-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. But it's like he's not giving clear instruction. It's just this idea and concept that to be a masculine man who takes charge and who is aggressive, this is what you should do? No. To be a masculine man who takes charge and is aggressive and takes initiative, you should probably just ask a woman what she likes. And if what she likes is being choked, then she's going to tell you. And then that's how you have that conversation. And then you don't have to record your whole video going, make sure you have a conversation first, because I don't want you to catch a charge and then say that I told you because I didn't. Like, what? So just little things like that, like where I'm like, you don't have the emotional bandwidth to be teaching anybody about this at all. And another part of that video or another different video, I was watching videos of his and I'm like, I don't know if I dislike you or I like you a little bit. You know what I'm saying? So I'm watching the videos and I'm understanding and I'm getting the principles and getting what I can get from it. And he said, what did he say? There's one more thing that I wanted to mention. Fuck it, I forgot. It doesn't matter. So, oh no, I remember now. He said, men, this is a video he's talking to women about getting men, getting good men, whatever. He's talking to women. And as he's talking to women, he says, men emotionally mature faster than women. Now, and he's real defensive towards women. You can tell in these videos when he's talking to women. And it's really unfortunate because, and we have to do like a 2.5 there. It's really unfortunate because this man who so clearly has all of this stuff and unhelpful assumptions about women, he's teaching and supporting these men. And it's not that there's no value in what he's saying, but energy is being transmuted in every single video. So if you, like as a human being, as a man, as somebody in his world, if you want to actually create relationships with women where you feel safe and secure with women, where you feel safe and secure around women, where you really feel in that aligned masculine energy, he's not going to be the guy that gets you there. He might get you a couple steps, you know, on your journey, and that's great, but he's not going to be the guy that's going to take you all the way, like by far. Jesus Christ. So anyway, in this video, he's like, men emotionally mature faster than women. And stereotypically, women are more ready for families before guys are. Guys tend to spend more time in the college days or what the fuck ever. He basically is saying men tend to take longer to be ready to settle down than women, but men tend to emotionally mature faster than women. And he gives an example of a woman who's emotionally immature. He says, I saw this woman. I observed this woman. She's very attractive. She's this, she's that. But she has such a hard time finding a man. And he says, and one day, I'm sorry. Where are you getting this voice from? And he doesn't sound like this, but it really doesn't matter. I think just the voice, it really communicates how I perceive him energetically. Okay, so he's like, one day he sees the woman and she was really upset and she was going off screaming, yelling, cussing on the phone or something like that. And when he saw her screaming and yelling and going off, he was like, oh, that's why she doesn't have a man. Ah! I'm sorry for screaming in your ear. Miranda, excuse me? Jump scare. Of all of the... I have so many thoughts and I have so many comments, and we have to minimize that for now. The point that I'm making, the reddest of all of the red flags within the story that he was telling was that his idea of emotional maturity is emotional suppression. Oh my God. It feels like a knife to my heart. You know me. I am the queen of emotions and feelings. There's a lot of men. Oh my God. Bless them. And when I say God bless them, I mean God strike them down with lightning. Okay. Seriously. There's a lot of men who think that they're emotionally mature, but they're not. They're emotionally suppressed. There's this idea and concept that you're emotionally mature because you don't respond. And when a woman does respond with emotion, or the person who responds expressing their emotion is the person who lost, the person who is emotionally expressive is the person who's emotionally immature. And it's like, no, 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 no. Boo! I'm throwing tomatoes. Like, oh my God, it was so bad. That's not emotional maturity. He doesn't know what emotional maturity is. That's not a man who I would ever suggest to any human being on earth that you take his advice in relationships. I'm not saying that there's absolutely no value there. It's kind of like what we talked about a couple of episodes ago. Maybe you could use the advice to get into a relationship, but if you want to experience an emotionally fulfilled, purpose-driven relationship, would not listen to that guy. You don't know who the guy is, but anyway, I just kind of was ranting a little bit. But what's the point? That was a great introduction to this. This episode, there's a lot of things that are very triggering for me online. And one of the things that have been very triggering for me is this idea and concept of men being leaders in a relationship and men being the head of the household, quote unquote. It's very triggering for me. Why is that triggering for me? Because I experienced abuse. And if you're a woman who has experienced abuse at the hands of a man, the idea and concept of a man being ahead of your home and a man leading you anywhere is going to be incredibly triggering for you. If you have been following me for a very long time, then you will probably have heard me say, woman is supposed to be led by a man? Lead me where? I can lead myself. Thank you very much. That is something that has really triggered me for a very long time. Because what do you mean, lead me someplace? What do you mean, head of my household? And then you kind of get into these ideas. You jump to these ideas of like women being subservient and women being submissive, which doesn't resonate with me outside of the bedroom. I had to say it. And we're moving on as a community because we're not talking about that today. This idea and concept, this guy posted a video. I didn't watch the video. It was one of those videos where it's like, don't watch this because you already decided that you don't like him. So don't watch the video, scroll past the bullshit. The title of the video was like, how to dominate women. What? They were not talking about explicit stuff. Okay. This was not a BDSM tutorial. How to dominate women. And then the thumbnail, this is a black man. And then the thumbnail is an AI generated picture of a white woman. And then the text on the thumbnail is like capital letters. It says like, submit her, which feels really dirty coming out of my mouth. And not dirty in a good way. Dirty in a fucking disgusting way. Dirty in like a, what the fuck are you on kind of way. Dirty in like a repulsive way. Dirty in like, this is either his marketing team trying to attract men who watch people like Andrew Tate and all that bullshit. This is either you're trying to attract this particular kind of man, which doesn't even fucking make sense because your whole thing is about getting in relationships and finding the one and blah, 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 blah. And a man who's going to click that video and click that thumbnail and be interested in that, like that should not even be your fucking ideal person. So I'm just like, ooh, I strongly dislike this man. You do not have integrity. You're not a good example of masculine energy, divine masculine energy. You are so misaligned. Typical zone of excellence guy. I can create something. I can make it look some kind of way. I can say these basic fucking talking points. I can keep shit superficial. I can make a fuck ton of money. I can, help these men feel a little bit better about themselves, but it's not actually genuinely and authentically purpose-driven. It's not actually genuinely and authentically teaching men how to lead. And that really is what we're talking about today, because we're talking about divine masculine energy and we're talking about divine feminine energy. And my job is to help you feel safe to get into your divine feminine energy and feel safe to allow an aligned man, a divine masculine man, into your life. And so we have to talk about all of the misaligned bullshit out there and how, if you're somebody like me who has experienced abuse at the hands of men in your life, the idea of a man being the head of your household, the idea of a man leading you, sounds like some of the worst things that you could ever experience in your fucking life. It sounds like a nightmare. It sounds like a trap. That's what it sounds like. It sounds like a fucking trap. And the reason why this shit is not landing well is because we're approaching it wrong. The reason why the whole head of the household, men leading you thing is not landing well is because we're approaching it wrong. We're talking about it wrong. The men are supposed to be the head of the household. The man is supposed to lead the relationship. They're talking about it wrong. They're not talking about what actual leadership is. They're not talking about what it actually means to be the head of the household. But I'm Natalie Hughes, and I do this. I do this decoding, understanding, embodying divine feminine principles, tapping into new vibrations, understanding things, watering shit down, and making it really digestible for the girlies, my Mirandas. So you're welcome. You're in good hands. Okay. Now that I've told you all of the things that I don't like, I actually feel like that was really good and foundational, because if you're still listening, then you've probably seen some stuff like that and also been triggered by it. So we're approaching this masculine leadership thing wrong. We're approaching this head of the household being supported by men thing wrong. And the first thing that we're going to do right now in this episode is we're going to talk about the consequences of abuse so that we can all get on the same page. The consequences that the abuse you experienced in your childhood or previous relationships, the consequences that those experiences have had on your dating life, on the way that you perceive men. And then we're going to talk about what it actually means to be led by a man in a healthy, balanced way. I'm super excited. I know that that was like nearly a 30-minute intro, but we usually talk for an hour here, sometimes 2 hours, sometimes an hour and 30 minutes. And I feel like we love it. I love when we connect. I love when you come around. I love when we have these chats. So I feel like we're doing great on time. Let's get into it. Number 1, consequences of abuse. So the first consequence of experiencing abuse by a man, and let's talk about what exactly do you mean by abuse? We're talking about emotional abuse, psychological abuse, physical abuse, financial abuse, mental abuse. We're talking about the times that men didn't protect you, the times that men didn't support you, the times that men intentionally used the power that they had to do you harm instead of loving, honoring, supporting you, and protecting you. If you've listened to my podcast, I think season 1, I talked about it a lot more. Just my childhood experience and different abuse that I've experienced. I have been abused by men in a lot of different, terrible, horrible ways. And as a consequence of that abuse, as a consequence of being hurt at the hands of men, I had become defensive. And the energy of being defensive, it means that you're scared. The consequence of experiencing abuse means that you become defensive towards men. You become scared of men financially, mentally, emotionally, physically, psychologically. You are scared. When you're defensive towards men, it means that you feel attacked or you feel threatened. And the defensiveness, it's deeper. It's deeper. It can look surface level, but really it's deeper. And I have to explain what the hell I mean. There was a Miranda who commented on one of the podcast episodes, maybe not the last one, but the one before that. And she commented and she said that her bullshit meter is very high because she dealt with a man who was spiritually, mentally, emotionally, psychologically abusive or dangerous. She didn't go into the specifics, but based off the examples that I was giving, that's what I inferred from her comment. That experience of my bullshit monitor is high, that experience of I'm looking and detecting danger, that's defensive. So your brain has a whole bunch of different parts and centers, right? One of the parts of your brain is called the amygdala. And I might be mispronouncing it. I really do not give a shit. And one of the things that the amygdala is responsible for is spotting danger. And so when you experience a traumatic event in relationships, you experience a pain, betrayal, hurt, wounding that has not been processed and moved through. What can happen is you can experience an overactive amygdala. You can have an experience in your brain where your brain still thinks that you're in danger. Your brain still thinks that you're unsafe. The man who hurt you could be long gone. The man who betrayed you could be passed away. But according to your brain, according to your body, you are still right there in that painful experience. And when you're being triggered, that's what's happening. When you experience a trigger because of something that a man does, or something that somebody does in general, if we're talking about trauma, you experience a trigger and your brain feels like it is right back in that dangerous place, in that unsafe place. So, as a consequence of the abuse that you experience at the hands of men, you're very much likely to have become defensive, scared in the presence of men. I remember I had gone out with a guy and I had kind of hooked up with the guy and it was fine. It was great. It was good. And then after, when he was dropping me off at my house, he touched my body in a way that a man who hurt me had also touched my body like almost 10 years prior. And when he did that, my entire body tensed up, like involuntarily. And it was like in that moment, my body and my being like switched back, and it felt like I was 13, 14 years old again. It was a really scary experience. As I've been doing my own healing work, doing inner child work, working with those parts of me, healing that trauma, healing that pain, I've become aware of these incredibly defensive parts of me, these parts of me that don't want men to come close to me at all. These parts of me that don't want men to be around me at all. There's a very deep mistrust and defensiveness that I had developed as a consequence of everything that I experienced, right? Normal and natural. And that's the deep shit that has to be addressed. And it becomes about more than just allowing your soulmate into your life, because of course that's what you want to do. But until you address these parts of yourself, then there's still a little girl within you. There's still a little human within you that is scared and defensive, that feels unsafe, and that feels like every single man, every single person that comes into her world might attack her or threaten her. And those feelings of unsafety can be triggered not just in your romantic life, they can be triggered in your career and also in general. So, as a consequence of the abuse that you experience, you can become defensive. There's a part of you that doesn't want masculine energy around, because there's a part of you that feels intimidated by masculine energy. Another experience that you can have is, I'm trying to think of how to word this. Another experience you can have we'll see if that comes out later. So, okay. Experience number 1, being defensive towards men, being afraid towards men, feeling attacked by men, feeling threatened by men. And this is one of the reasons why, when you're having a conversation with women about being led by men, when you're having a conversation with women about men being the head of the household, quote unquote, you have to take that shit into consideration. If a woman has the perception that men are dangerous, that men are going to attack her, that men are going to threaten her, the idea and concept of a man being quote unquote in charge, being in a position of leadership in her life, that idea is going to scare the shit out of that woman. That woman is going to rebel against that idea with every fiber of her being, because that's not safe. And that's what a lot of the videos and trainings and whatever that I've been watching recently, that's what they're lacking so much of. You want to learn how to lead a woman. You want to learn how to be the head of a household? You need to learn how to make a woman feel safe. And we're talking more about that in a little bit. I'm so excited. I wish we could skip to that part of this. We're almost there. We're almost there. You have to learn what it means to make a woman feel safe. And what's your job, Miranda? Your side of the street is healing your inner children, healing those past experiences, moving through, processing, being willing to tell a new story, being willing to have a new experience with men. But you can't drop your defenses with men if you still hold the perception of them that they're going to attack you and that they're going to threaten you. So that's what you've also got to shift. And you're defensive towards men when you're looking and seeking out. Are they going to hurt you? Do they not have integrity? A defensive energy has been, like I mentioned earlier with Miranda, who talked about, I've got a bullshit detector and I'm looking for it and I'm searching for it. And what's going to happen? You're going to get what you focus on and you're going to find whatever you go looking for. And that works on a million different levels. You're holding the expectation that men are dangerous. You're holding the expectation that men are unsafe. So who are you going to attract? Unsafe, dangerous men. And you're going to find the bullshit that you're looking for. And when you find the bullshit that you're looking for, you're going to go, I knew it. Another one. Another terrible piece of shit man who affirms the story that I'm telling myself that men are trash, pieces of shit, they don't have integrity, they don't take care of me, whatever. You're going to have an experience like that. That defensive energy is also the experience of when your abandonment wounds get triggered in a relationship. You don't identify that it's your abandonment wounds being triggered in the relationship. So you don't hear back from the guy, and I have done this. I've done all of these things. You message a guy and you don't hear back from a guy, or you message a guy and you went out with the guy and then you don't hear back from the guy. And then automatically you're taking yourself in your mind to the place of, did he just use me to hook up with me or whatever? You're taking yourself to the place in your mind where you're going, is he just going to abandon me? Or is he just going to ghost me? Is he not going to respond to me? Is he not going to say anything to me at all? That's a defensive energy. You're feeling threatened. You're feeling in danger, emotionally threatened, emotionally in danger. It does not, being threatened and feeling attacked, feeling unsafe, is not just about a man straight up coming at you. It's about feeling insecure, feeling unsafe. So in that defensive energy, you're trying to protect yourself from feeling insecure. You're trying to protect yourself from feeling unsafe. But what you don't understand is that you're not protecting yourself from that. You already are that. You already are feeling unsafe. You already are feeling insecure. You already are feeling attacked. You already are feeling threatened. And you've got to deal with those parts of you that feel attacked, those parts of you that feel threatened, those parts of you that don't feel safe with men. And then you take yourself to that feeling of safety and security, like we talked about in the feminine leadership episode. No matter what the man does outside of me, I am safe with men. And of course, you have to take that with a grain of salt. I'm not talking about if there's a man in your physical reality and your physical life is in danger and you're going, I'm just going to take myself to a place in my mind where I feel safe and secure. That's not what I'm telling you. In your relationships, even when the guy doesn't text you back, you're still safe and secure. And you're learning more about this, you're really understanding how to do this. You're getting the nitty gritty inside of the Love After Loss course. So if you're listening to this, you're like, okay, I'm loving this. I'm ready to do this in my own life because I want my person, and I also want to feel safe and secure. I don't want to feel anxious. Then the Love After Loss course is made for you and will powerfully support you to do every single thing that we've been talking about over the past several weeks. As we're talking about divine masculine and feminine energy, we're talking about healing that inner child, and we're talking about creating an environment of safety and security within yourself, especially or specifically as it relates to men in your relationships. It will help you to create the expectations, those internal expectations of being supported by men, loved by men, taken care of by men. Okay, so boom, defensive energy. We've talked about defensive energy. Another consequence that I didn't think about, and it's kind of tied to that defensive energy, is seeking out feminine men. And it sounds like, what? Like that? No. Why would I want a feminine man? Why would I want a man who doesn't do anything? Why would I want a man who doesn't take initiative? I know. I totally understand, because I normally would have felt the same way. But I realized something that happened in my own healing journey. I would tap into the vibe. I would see the guy showing up, see the guy taking initiative, and the idea and thought of the guy taking initiative to move the relationship forward, I observed in my own body as my muscles tensed. The idea of the guy moving towards me, my muscles tensed. And I said, oh, that's interesting. I felt unsafe. I felt unsafe. The idea of the guy moving things forward, the idea of the guy supporting me, the idea of the guy helping me with things, the idea of the guy seeing me in moments of vulnerability. Oh, can we just 2.5 for something I didn't plan on talking about? You don't just have trouble with guys seeing you when you're emotionally, or not just emotionally, but when you're feeling vulnerable. It's not always just a feeling of being unworthy of love. I have to say that sentence over again. I don't like how that came out of my mouth. I've had an experience where, and I've observed this in other women as well, where they're like, I can't be in the relationship right now because I don't have a job. I have to get this going in my finances before I can have the guy. And this is why you need to understand what's alive within you. This is why you have to be able to identify how you feel and what's alive within you, because it's, okay, mind doing too many things at one time. Put a pin in that. Come back to what I was saying. Previously, the conversations about this, about that experience where it's like, I can't be in the relationship with the guy because I don't have my shit together in my career. Previously, the conversation was around unworthiness. You don't feel worthy of the guy when your shit is not together. And that's the reason why you're pushing love away until you have your shit together, right? And sure, that could be it. But what it also most likely is, when your shit is not together, when you don't have the job, when you don't have the career goals together, when you don't have your money and finances together, when you're dealing with 1,000,001 different things, you're vulnerable. You're vulnerable. You're at a vulnerable place in your life. And if you don't feel safe with other human beings, if you don't feel safe with men, the idea of a man coming into your life at a moment of such incredible vulnerability feels threatening, it feels dumb, it feels illogical, and you will not allow that man in. What do? You've got to switch the story that you're telling, that men are going to attack and threaten you, that men are unsafe. That was my 2.5. We're done talking about that for now. Yes, we will talk more about that inside of the Love After Loss course. When I tell you, This is one of the best courses that I've ever created. And it's so crazy because before I felt to start working on this course again, it was like my least favorite course. Like, I knew that it was good, but once I started like really getting deeper into the course and just like all of this shit, beefing out the modules a little bit, adding just a little bit here and there. I haven't really added a lot, but I added another training to module 2, which I'll tell you more about at the end of this episode. It's like, it's just fucking good. It's a really good program. Anyway, I love this program. That's all I have to say. Let's move on. So back to what I was telling you, the second consequence that we were talking about today. Seeking out feminine men. I would observe and tap into the vibe of the guy, the soulmate, coming into my life, showing up for me, taking care of me, taking initiative. When I did that, my muscles tensed. I observed in myself, oh, you feel unsafe. You're feeling threatened. The idea of the guy taking initiative in the relationship makes me feel threatened. Obviously, that's not supportive and that's not helpful. And that's not the current energy that I'm in, but that's what I observed within myself, right? And as I realized that and was working through that, I'm taking a shower and the message comes through to me. You are seeking, I don't understand. Oh, we have to write shit down. We need to keep a journal. I do have a journal. But I need to have a journal of like how the epiphanies come out. So when I share it with you guys, then I can give you the play by play. But the point is, I have this realization around, why do you want a feminine man? You, a part of you wants a feminine man because masculine men are scary. Masculine energy is intimidating. And masculine energy is intimidating in general. And the really interesting thing about it is that when you have experienced abuse by men, and I'm speaking from experience, when you have experienced abuse by men and men haven't protected you and men haven't supported you, and you have not experienced that masculine containment in your life, you respond to that as a woman by leaning into masculinity yourself. And so it's like this energy of, well, I'm going to be masculine. I'm going to be the strong man protecting myself, which is lovely, except it's not lovely at all. It's dysfunctional and you don't thrive in that energy. You're operating from a fried nervous system in that energy. That's not who you are. That's not your being. That's not how you get the most out of your life. That's working harder and not smarter. You're showing up in a masculine energy to protect yourself. So when I'm showing up in a masculine energy in the world and I'm showing up defensive towards men, then yes, that energy of intimidation is still there, but it's not so intense because it's almost like I'm masking it. A really great example is New York women. Love ya. Heart emoji towards ya. Women after my own heart. Consider myself to be one of you. And also just that stereotypical New York City woman who takes no shit and who will bite your fucking head off if you disrespect her. That's a woman who, in that culture, because they have been so hurt and abused by men, because they have not been protected by men in that city, in that culture, they have learned as a maladaptive coping mechanism to lean into their masculine energy. That masculine woman does not want a masculine man. Why? Because she doesn't trust masculine men. Because she has a perception of men that they abuse their power, they abuse their authority, they will hurt her, they will attack her, they are threatening to her. So in order to protect herself, she's going to adapt to that environment, and she's going to become hardened, and she's going to become the intimidator herself, which resonates very deeply with me. My experience completely. But what happens is, that's not the energy that you were made for. That's not the energy that you were made to be in, meaning that's not the energy that you're going to thrive in. As a divine feminine, you're going to thrive in your femininity. You're going to thrive when you're being protected. You're going to thrive when you're being looked after. You're going to thrive when you're being supported. You're going to thrive when you're being... Can I say this word yet? We're going to get there, and you're going to like it, I promise. You're going to thrive when you're being led by a man. And I know. We only talked about the consequences, so it might be a little bit harder to get into it, but I promise it's all going to make sense in like 5 seconds, because we're here. We're at my favorite part. We're at my favorite part of this episode, and the fucking fan in this... It's like allergy season. And the fan in this room is like kicking all the pollen that shouldn't be in here into my eyes. That it feels good. So let's wrap this up. Okay. So we have this idea and concept of men being the head of the household, right? And men being leaders. And it can be a very triggering idea, because you're a woman who's experienced abuse, and you're a woman who perceives men to be unsafe and untrustworthy, that men will attack you, that men will take advantage of you, that men will hurt you, that men will not be there for you. You can't let your guard down around men. I have to give you an example. Ooh. Yes, I had to clap for myself before I shared it because it's that good. So, the men in my family... How do I say this? I experienced various abuse from various men in my family. I was abused by my youngest older brother. By both of them, but mostly it was worse, Anyway, when I was in 2019 or 20, it was one of those. This is before I cut that brother off, went no contact, right? 2019, 2020, I was traveling going to Southern California, and I had reached out to him because he was living in Los Angeles. I had reached out to him if I could stay at his place. And he said that I could stay for a day. And so I went to his house, and he ended up going out to like the bar or something. And I was at his house, and this is not going to be like it could be like mildly triggering, but we're talking about financial abuse in this story. It's nothing like, financial abuse isn't okay, but it's nothing like, oh my God, like put a fucking warning before that, So I was at his house, and he had gone out to a bar, and then he called me to come and pick him up from the bar. So I got in the car to go pick him up from the bar, and my plan was I was traveling. I don't know where the hell I was going. I don't remember when this fucking happened. But I was going live on YouTube to do tarot readings to make money. And the night before that, the night before I stayed at my brother's, I had stayed in a hostel for the first time in Los Angeles on Melrose. And because I just wanted to know what the experience was, and I learned that the experience is not for me. Nothing terrible and horrible happened, but if I have to put on slippers to take a shower, I just feel like that's not someplace that I should be. So I had that experience. The next day I was there. He called me to go and pick him up, but I was really running low on gas and I didn't have money to get gas, and I needed enough money to get gas to go back home. And I also needed money for food and all of that. So he called me to come and pick him up from the bar. And then I went and I picked him up from the bar and then came back to his home, and he said that he was going to give me gas money. So I was like, okay, perfect. I can take the gas money that he's giving me and I can get myself gas and food. Because typically when somebody says, give me gas money, you usually just give them like $20, don't you? Just like in general, unless you're going like a crazy, super long distance, you usually just give them $20, $40. Like gas money comes in increments of $20, does it not? Maybe that's just, can't say that's how I was raised, but that's how I do things, where I come from with my girlfriends, like whatever. That's just what the standard has always been for me. So I'm thinking, okay, he's going to give me money to go get gas, and he's going to give me money to go get gas and then also to get food. And so I basically asked him like, oh yeah, like you said that you were going to give me gas money. And this MF, I don't remember what his exact calculations were, but he basically was like, I think he said he was going to give me like less than $6. Okay. And he was giving me less than $6 because gas costs some XYZ amount per gallon, what the fuck ever, right? Some bullshit thing. I drove the streets of Los Angeles, which I don't particularly love Los Angeles. I don't. I am a Southern California girl. I do love my hometowns and that, neighborhood. I like the inland empire. I like the inland part of Southern California. I don't love Los Angeles. I don't love Los Angeles traffic, and I certainly don't love driving in it. So I'm searching around trying to find the place to come and pick this fool up. And he's like, basically being cheap as fuck, not trying to give me gas money. That would be like fucking reasonable. You know what I mean? Regardless of how far away it was not like I drove around the corner to pick him up. There was a distance. You know what I mean? So anyway, he says something like, okay, I'm going to give you less than $6. I don't remember the exact amount. And I'm like, less than $6? Like, that's kind of fucking ridiculous. And we end up going back and forth about it. And he basically says, like, in this very condescending tone, he's just like, what? Do you need more money? And I'm like, it's so interesting to me because knowing what I know about masculine energy now, divine masculine, aligned masculine energy, this is your younger sister, a woman who you would naturally want to provide masculine containment for. He does not. Because I'm pretty sure he's like a fucking sociopath. If we're just, can I be real with you? Can I be real with you? I'm pretty sure he's a fucking sociopath. Next question. It's not funny. It's not funny. It's not funny at all. So we're like going back and forth around it. He's like, do you just need more money? And I'm like, it's not really about the more money thing. It's about the principle of the thing. Like, are you fucking kidding me? And he basically is just like, tell me that you need more money and I'll give you more money. And the way that I'm saying it makes it sound much more reasonable than it was. But it was more so him being like, tell me that you can't take care of yourself and you're incapable. And, it was kind of like, it was just one of these weird, narcissistic, sociopathic mind games that he likes to play with human beings. And I was just like, you know what? No, like, fuck it, whatever. And that night, I just went live on YouTube, and then my community came through, and then they got readings. And I think I paused my live to go and get food because I was really hungry. And then I got enough gas to make it back home, which I live like 2 hours north of Los Angeles. So I was able to take care of myself. And at the time, I felt really good about myself because I'm like, I can fucking take care of myself. Like, fuck you very much. I don't have to experience financial, mental, and emotional abuse from a man because I can take care of myself. And I look back at that situation now, and it's not like I could have done anything differently or I would have done anything differently. But I look back at that situation now and I see how misaligned everyone's energy was in that situation. Masculine energy was something that was very threatening to me. Being taken care of was not, in that situation, it was not something that I got to have because I got to be taken care of. It was only something that I got to have if I admitted that I was incapable, not good enough, incompetent. It was very degrading to be taken care of in that moment. And how I adapted, not just in that moment, but in life, to having an experience where people don't want to take care of you. As I became hardened, I'm not going to let people take care of me. I'm not going to put myself in a situation where I feel vulnerable because I don't trust other people to take care of me. I don't trust men to take care of me. I'm going to take care of myself. I had an experience where being supported by men was not something that I got to have. And as a consequence, I adapted to tell myself that that's not something that I needed. But that's not an energy that I thrive in. That's not an experience that I thrive in. An energy and experience that I thrive in is an energy and experience where I have men in my life who want to take care of me because fucking duh. And we're getting there. I'm so excited. It's so good. Okay. I have an experience where men in my life want to take care of me because they do, and that's obvious. And I'm taken care of and I'm supported. And let me break down the difference there. When men don't take care of me, in the example that I just gave, I went live on YouTube to do readings, but even when I was going live on YouTube to do readings, I have this underlying panic and fear. There is a constant state of underlying panic and fear. When you're not being supported by men and you are a hardened woman, you constantly have an underlying sense of panic and fear. You can put on an intimidating, hardened face to other people, and you still constantly have an underlying feeling of panic and fear. I'm not taken care of. I'm not being supported. My head has to be on a swivel. I'm constantly looking for potential danger. There's constantly threats to my safety and security, and I have to be on top of everything. I have to take care of everything myself. I feel deeply insecure. I feel deeply unsafe. That's the experience that you're having all the time. So not only are you taking care of yourself and you're trying to create this environment of safety and security for yourself, even though you don't feel safe and secure at all, you're having that experience and you're going live on YouTube at the same exact time. to be fun and bubbly and, connect with your community and talk with your girlfriends about the guys that you're meeting on Tinder at the time. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you're having this experience where it's like you're split in two. Your energy isn't present in anything that you're doing because you've got to focus on having a good time and doing all of the things. And also in the back of your mind, I don't know what I'm going to eat tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make enough money so that I have something to eat tonight. I don't know if I'm going to make enough gas money to get home. What am I going to do if I don't have enough gas money to get home? Like, all of that fear, all of that anxiety, all of that anxiousness. Did I do what needed to be done? Yes. Did I make it back home? Absolutely, I fucking did, because that's who I am and that's what I do. But is that the way that I want to live for the rest of my fucking life? No. If I had a choice to have that experience or to have had a brother that loved and cared for me and men in my life who provided for me and who made me feel safe and secure, I would have chose option 2 every single fucking time. Because doesn't that just make sense? And I could have either had an experience where my brother is taking care of me. Okay, how are you getting home? Do you have money for this? Do you have money for this? Do you need money for gas? Let me fill up your tank, blah, 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 blah. Let me do what I can. Let me help you out. Let me support you. I could have had that experience, and then maybe I would have not gone live because I would have just been resting and I would have had a deep, restful sleep that night. Or maybe I would have gone live and I would have had even more fun with my community and I could have been even more present. And I remember that live. It was a good live. It was a really fun live. But it could have been even better. It would have been even better had I felt safe and secure when I was doing it, when I was giving my creative gifts to the world, when I was supporting my community and making my own money, right? So you can have an experience where you're going through life as a hardened, defensive woman who doesn't need men and who isn't willing to let men see her when she's vulnerable and needs help and support. And you can get to where you want to be in life from that energy, but you're not going to have a fun time, or you're not going to have as much of a fun time as you could have when there are people who were literally made and designed and created to support you and take care of you and love you. And now we get to talk about my favorite part. Okay. So, the idea of a man being the head of the household, we understand why it's triggering. The idea of a man leading a relationship and leading you is triggering. We understand why it's triggering. We've talked about that extensively. Great job, team. So, now we're talking about the right way to approach it. The reason it doesn't land, the reason it makes you feel defensive, all of that stuff is because they're approaching it wrong. They're not talking to you about the shit that actually fucking matters. What does it mean for a man to be a leader? What does it mean for a man to be the head of the household? Oh, you know I love a definition. Basically, a man loving you, a man caring about you, and a man taking responsibility for your well-being. That's what it means for a man to lead you. Oh, doesn't that feel so much better? And of course, obviously, I'm going to, expand on that. But it's a man caring about you and taking responsibility for your well-being. That's leadership. Taking responsibility for your well-being, taking responsibility for your happiness. That means he's taking responsibility for your safety. That means he's taking responsibility for your security. A man who cares about you, a man who cares about your happiness, a man who cares about your safety and security, that's leadership. One of the videos that I watched from the man who I strongly dislike. Boo, throwing tomatoes. 0 stars. Okay, maybe like 2.5 stars. Okay, not 3. Not 3. 3's pushing it. In the video, how to be a masculine man. Be decisive. Women might not say that they like this, but they really like a man who's decisive. Wrong answer. Wrong answer. Faux head. No, 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 no. There's nothing wrong with what he said, but there's everything wrong with what he said. First of all, if a woman tells you that she doesn't like something, and you say, I'm going to do it anyway, that's just the wrong answer always. That's just the wrong answer always. Women won't tell you that they like this, but trust me, they do. No, wrong answer. And I'm going to tell you what he should have said instead. Men being decisive, men making choices and decisions from that place of loving you and taking responsibility for your well-being, that's decisive initiative action, divine masculine action that women like and appreciate. You don't walk into a woman's life ordering her around and making a whole bunch of choices and decisions and not taking her into account at all. That's bullying her. That's being controlling. That's just so fucking misaligned. He's not a good teacher, not a good instructor at all, because he doesn't talk about the things that actually fucking matter. It's like so superficial. There's nothing wrong with what he says, but it's the fact that he doesn't go in depth. It's the fact that he doesn't actually give the important parts. Ugh, just stupid. Okay. I'm working on my criticism of men, but this, I can't fucking help it. I can't fucking help it. It's dumb. It's dumb. This is stupid, guys. I'm sorry to quote R. Kelly. Let's move on. So, this idea and concept of the man being the head of the household means that the man is the one who is in charge of loving you and taking responsibility for your well-being. A man loving you and taking responsibility for your well-being. Masculine energy leads. Masculine energy takes initiative. That means I take initiative to keep you safe. I take initiative to support you. I take initiative to support your happiness. I take initiative to support your self-expression. I take initiative to support your purpose. That's masculine energy. That's divine masculine energy. They don't say that in the fucking videos because they don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And they're just regurgitating something that somebody else told them. I listen to my husband. I am obedient. The Bible says that the man is the head of the household. Wrong answer. The Bible says that the man is supposed to love his wife like he loves himself. Can't think of the exact scripture. This is the Cliff Notes version. The Bible says that the man is supposed to take care of his wife like he takes care of his own body. Teal Swan's definition of love is to take somebody else as a part of yourself. If I take you as a part of myself, that means that I cannot hurt you without hurting myself. If I take you as a part of myself, I don't have a totalitarian vibe with myself. That's not how I support myself. That's not how I love myself. That's not how I lead myself. There's no control at all. There's no control at all. It's just support. It's just support. And I have examples because of fucking course I do. The man is the head of the household, which means that the man is the one who is in charge of loving you and taking responsibility for your well-being. Of course, Miranda, you're going to be an emotionally mature woman. What does it mean to be an emotionally mature woman, Matthews? I'll tell you. Being an emotionally mature woman means I know how to identify how I feel and what I need. Which means that for a man, taking responsibility for my well-being is incredibly fucking easy. Because I'm a grown woman. I know how to communicate how I feel and what I need. And also being able to process your emotions and all of that. That's not the only parts of being emotionally mature, but those are the main two that you focus on. I know how to identify how I feel and what I need. If I can communicate to a man how I feel and what I need from him, then being supported by him is much easier. And that's true for everything in life. He's the one who is in charge of loving you and taking responsibility for your well-being. It's a really good deal. When I was understanding this and this was clicking for me, I was like, hold on. And maybe I can be led. When this was clicking for me, I said, hold on. I said, and maybe this is a sweet deal. And maybe this is good. Maybe this is good. God's like, of course it's good. I created it for you. You're welcome. Divine masculine energy thrives when taking responsibility for your well-being. A man who takes responsibility for you is a man who is equipped to lead you. It's the same thing. Leadership and responsibility are the same thing. I take initiative to keep you safe. Really great example. I saw a video of an interview of Jay-Z the other day. And in the video, he's talking about having kids. And he says, having kids is amazing. Something like that. And he's asked about Blue Ivy and their relationship. And he said, our relationship is like this. I never learned how to swim until Blue Ivy was born. Because the idea, the mere thought of her falling into a pool and me being incapable of going in after her, and he his thought trails off at the end. It's unspeakable. Divine masculine energy. I take initiative to keep you safe. She's a newborn baby. She cannot even crawl to get close to a swimming pool. Divine masculine energy. I take initiative to keep you safe. It doesn't even fucking matter. Doesn't matter if I'm going to need the skill today, tomorrow, the next day, the next year. I take initiative to keep you safe. And then there's another video of Jay-Z, which I was not planning it. The examples coming through were just really great. There's another video of Beyonce, and I think Kelly Rowland is there. There's like a party, okay? They're on the dance floor, they're dancing, they're chatting. And there's a man who's standing like kind of behind and to the right of Beyonce. And I think his name is Jason Lee, but I could be mistaken. And this man takes out his phone and is recording Beyonce. And Then Jay-Z comes from out of nowhere. Beyonce didn't say anything. I think maybe Beyonce noticed him, like maybe she looked towards him. She doesn't say anything to him. She's dancing and talking with her homegirls. And Jay-Z comes out of nowhere. And Jay-Z grabs the phone out of the guy's hand and is basically yelling at the guy like, what the fuck are you doing? Why are you recording videos of my wife? And she's just here trying to have a good time. I don't know what he said, but I can imagine it was something along those lines. Because it's very clear and it's very apparent that your behavior is inappropriate. And it's not acceptable. And I'm taking responsibility for the safety and well-being of this woman. And Beyonce, in her divine feminine energy, doesn't have to do anything. She doesn't have to do anything. Can you imagine having a relationship with a man that is so solid and you're so connected and he's so attuned to you? Just attuned logically, but attuned emotionally, attuned spiritually. When men are really attuned to you, men can be incredibly intuitive. Intuition is a divine feminine energy, but these are not opposites that are cut in the middle and we only have one of each. They're energies that feed into one another. As a divine feminine, I'm going to take masculine initiative action and I'm going to communicate to a man what I want from him, how I feel, and what I need from him. As a divine masculine man, as a man in a healthy masculine energy, he's going to intuitively tune into me, how I feel, what I need, what is alive within me, and he's going to take action accordingly. As a divine masculine man in the video example, Jay-Z is going to attune to his wife, Beyonce, even from across the room. There's something up. There's something off. There's something going on. My wife needs my help and my support and my protection. And I'm there immediately, period. Amazing example of masculine containment. Amazing example of a man taking responsibility for your well-being. That woman is a part of me. If you're hurting that woman, you're hurting me. When I protect that woman, I'm protecting myself. There's like this, it's like a real union. It's crazy. And as I was understanding this and like kind of like downloading this into my energy, I could feel this uniting and merging of energy. It was crazy. I don't even have the words to describe it yet. There's this like real life union, like a real life merging, not to where you're codependent and you don't have a sense of self, but it's just a sense of safety and security until one might call it positive ownership. This is my person. This is my wife. This is my soulmate. This is my lady. And this woman belongs to me. This woman is my responsibility. Divine masculine energy. I take initiative to protect this woman and to support her well-being. Divine masculine energy, I take initiative to support your happiness, your self-expression, and your purpose. Well-being is not just safety and security and protection. Another example of Jay-Z and Beyonce. Listen, the examples came to me, okay? The examples came to me. Jay-Z most recently at the Grammys. He's accepting an award for himself. And this is not I'm not giving these examples because this is exactly what a man needs to do. These are just examples that reflect the energy. Because of course, if you have an award for yourself and you just want to take time to have your own award, then like, fine. He gets an award for himself. And he says, my wife, she's going to be mad at me. That's a great example. That is actually a great example. Jay-Z accepting his award at the Grammys is a great example of men being in a decisive energy that women like, even if they don't particularly love what he is doing. In the speech that he's giving, he says, she's not going to want me to do this, but I have to. Why does he have to? There's not a gun to his head. Why does he have to? Because that's his wife. Because that's his lady. Because he's a clamshell around her pearl. And that is not sexual at all. She's not going to want me to do this. But she's the most Grammy Award winning artist of all time. And she has never won Album of the Year. That's absolutely ridiculous. Even by your own standards, she should have got that award. I'm going to decisively take initiative to support my wife's safety and security, her mental, emotional safety and security. I'm going to stand up for her artistic integrity. And I'm also going to support her happiness, her self-expression, and her purpose on earth. That's what he's doing. All of those things in that one speech, in that one sentence. Because that's my wife, and I'm grateful that you're giving me this award, but you're not going to hurt my wife year after year after year after year, and I don't say anything. Because fuck you. That's why. Another example. This example is from Beyonce's perspective. When Beyonce is receiving awards. When Beyonce, I don't remember the exact, she's done this more than once. But when she's receiving accolades or she's talking about her accomplishments, there are so many times where she thanks Jay-Z for, like, quote unquote, holding it down in the studio. And what does that mean? It doesn't mean that he's producing. It doesn't mean that he's writing, even though, sometimes he is. He's just sitting there. And that's support. That's masculine containment. Masculine energy, divine masculine energy takes initiative. I take initiative. I take responsibility for your well-being. I take initiative to support your happiness, your self-expression, and your purpose. Sometimes there's nothing for me to do but sit and support you while you're working, while you're living in your purpose. When Beyonce is out on tour, who was in Club Renaissance every single show? Jay-Z was. That's masculine containment. That's supporting emotionally, supporting creatively. That's masculine containment. Last example. The Homecoming movie on Netflix. I'm pretty sure that's the one. Beyonce is having a meeting with the team. Things aren't coming together in a way that she's pleased with. I think she says something like, I can't give more notes. It doesn't make sense to give more notes when the notes that I've given have not been applied, or something like that. She's a little bit pissed off. She's kind of, I wouldn't say biting their heads off, but she's in her masculine energy in a way, right? She's a leader in her business. She's a leader in her company. She's a leader in the show. So Jay-Z being there and being a divine masculine support for her, it's not like him having her sit there and she says nothing. And he's going, so this is how you all have been pissing off my wife. That's not divine masculine leadership. Divine masculine leadership, I take initiative to take responsibility for you. I am attuned to you. You need different things at different times. And sometimes what I can see and sense and feel and know in my gut is that my wife needs me to stand up for her at the Grammys, and other times what I can sense and feel and know is that my wife needs me to shut the fuck up. Is that my wife needs me to just sit here while she does her job and leads her people. And he's still providing masculine containment for her because he's still just there. And do you know that experience? You probably have had that experience, and maybe you haven't, so we'll talk about it. That experience of being in a man's presence, that experience of being surrounded by a man's energy, it does really make you feel very safe and secure. It is incredibly supportive. And so sometimes divine masculine energy and divine masculine containment, it's not about doing everything for a woman. Sometimes it's just being there, energetically supporting her with your presence. Moral support. Is that what they call it? So in this video, she's talking and she's giving her team all these notes. And then it's time to go, and Jay-Z, because he's a Sagittarius and he's funny, he says a funny joke. Like, I don't remember the funny joke that he said, but he says a funny joke. Tensions are high. She's getting up to walk away. He's like, all right, thanks guys. Like, have a good night, everyone. Like, I don't know what the fuck he says. But he says kind of a funny joke that diffuses a little bit of that tension, and that's still masculine leadership. That's still an amazing, incredible example of masculine leadership. So, okay, as I'm sitting and learning, what does it mean for a man to be the head of the household? That means a man is going to put you in a position where you do not have to spend every day of your life worried about your safety and security. Masculine leadership, head of the household. If God created men for you, then men were created. Yes. If God created men for you, then men were created to make you feel safe and secure and supported. Men were created to take initiative to make you feel safe and secure and supported. It is a part of their purpose and their purpose in your life. And I'm so excited for you to get inside of Love After Loss, because we're going so much deeper in this. Okay, that's all that we have for today's episode. That was really, really, really good. And of course, we're talking specifically about your relationship. So men are going to have their own experiences outside of, their own experiences and their own purposes outside of being in a relationship with you. But that's not what we're talking about today. So that's it. That's all. So if you're listening to this and you're like, okay, I'm ready to attract my soulmate, I'm ready to heal my relationship with divine masculine energy. I'm ready to heal my relationship with men. I want to be open to men. I want to feel safe around men. I want to create an experience where I'm attracting safe men, where I can tell the difference between a man who's in pretending masculine energy, and I can tell a man who is genuinely and authentically in his divine masculine energy. I want to be able to accept and embrace and allow a man to come into my life and provide containment for me. I want to expect men to provide containment for me. I want to expect men to want to take care of me, because if you listen to this and this resonated with you, then you have had the experience and you have the assumption that men don't want to take care of you at all. If you were not experiencing masculine containment, and just because your dad was there does not mean that you were experiencing masculine containment. If you did not experience a man who wanted to take responsibility for you emotionally, financially, mentally, spiritually, and physically, then there are parts of you who do not believe and do not expect a man to come into your life and do those things for you. That needs to be addressed. That needs to be shifted. That needs to be healed. That needs to be worked through, so that you can clear that space and build out a belief that supports your soulmate, your person, the man that God has created and equipped with everything that he needs to come in and give you that masculine containment and positive ownership, so that that man can come into your life, because he already was put aside. He already is there. He already has been assigned and appointed and anointed to your life. You know what I'm saying? So your job, your side of the street, is making space. Your side of the street is building out a belief that supports him in coming in and allows him to do what he was made to do for you, which makes it that much easier for you to live an emotionally fulfilled, purpose-driven life, because that's our goal, isn't it? And you cannot live an emotionally fulfilled, purpose-driven life if you don't feel safe and secure, if you're not being taken care of. You can't be the best mom to your kids that you can possibly be if you're hardened, you're not being supported by your man, you're not being supported by divine masculine energies or systems. Like, this shit is deep. And love after loss is the course that was made to help you work through and shift it all. It's so fucking good, you guys. Especially this second section that I added into module 2. I just added it in. It's specifically on divine masculine father wound healing, and chef's fucking kiss. There's nothing more than I can say. It's everything that I just mentioned, and it's perfect. Okay. So when you join, Love After Loss is a 5-module course. It will become 6 modules. I'm still working on the Divine Feminine module, and we're adding more into module 5 right now. But right now, when you join, you'll get access to module 2 immediately, and that's on healing the inner child. Across 5 video and audio trainings plus journal prompts, you will learn how your childhood experiences influenced what you have attracted, expected, and accepted in your previous relationships. You're going to learn how to soothe your inner child in order to bring healing to the parts of you that are still hurting. You're going to learn how to shift the stories you started telling as a child about who you were and what you got to have in relationships. And you're going to address, heal, and shift the father wounds specifically that taught you it was unsafe to trust, depend on, or be loved by a man. You're going to address, heal, and shift the father wounds that taught you to believe that men don't want to take care of you, or they don't want to meet your emotional, physical, financial, or spiritual needs. And the last thing you're going to do in that module 2 is you're going to learn and practice how I do breath work to release the pain of the past on a cellular level. And that breath work is my absolute favorite tool. That's just what you're getting inside of module 2. And this is a 5-module course. And what's very, very, very good about it is that it just takes you deeper with every single module. You're starting out in module 1, you're learning how to process the pain and be with yourself emotionally. In module 2, you're going deeper back in time, focusing on your childhood experiences and your relationship with your father to start healing your relationship with men at the root. In module 3, you start looking back at your past relationship and healing that past relationship and what that taught you and what stories you started telling yourself as a consequence of it. And you're releasing releasing that. And then in module 4, you're releasing it all. You're doing a cord cutting meditation ceremony moment, releasing those past people and experiences from your energy. It's the ultimate way to clear space. And then in module 5, you start tapping into the vibration of your soulmate love so that you call in that love, right? You've cleared out space all throughout the previous 4 modules. Module 5 is when you start building upon all of the mini shifts that you got throughout the previous modules. You start building upon that, building out those supportive beliefs about your soulmate, about your person, about the love of your life, allowing them in, building out supportive beliefs about who men are, who they get to be for you. I'm going to add this podcast episode. I'm going to embed it into the module 5 expansions and additions as well. So you'll have this to replay over again and apply directly to what you're learning inside of the course. It's incredibly amazing. If you're ready for your soulmate, if you're ready to heal those generational patterns of abusive men, unsupportive men, women being hardened and not being allowed to thrive and be as happy and supported as they possibly could be, if you're ready to attract in a man in a healthy, divine, masculine energy who's ready to take responsibility for your well-being right here and right now, then the Love After Loss course is absolutely the place that you need to be. You can learn more about the course, learn what's inside of every single module, read over my student and client testimonials by clicking the link in the show notes or the description if you're over on YouTube. I love you, and I will talk to you next Monday. Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you laughed, learned something new, or just loved the time we spent together today, please leave a review of the podcast so that it's easier for the other Mirandas of the world to find it too. And if you want to connect with me between episodes, I highly suggest joining our free Facebook group using the link in the show notes. Love you lots, and I'll see you in the next episode.